They tried to get me to not like Puffy and Biggie while we was in the middle of the Death Row Bad Boy feud. And I made a choice that I had no issues with them.
50 Cent just did the unthinkable. At a time when people believed hip-hop had already survived every scandal imaginable, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson released a documentary that made the entire entertainment industry uncomfortable. This was not a film made for fun, and it was not designed to celebrate anyone. It felt heavy, serious, and dangerous from the first moment. It was clear that this project was meant to expose truths that powerful people spent years trying to hide. While social media was flooded with reactions about Diddy's downfall, something much quieter but equally alarming was happening in the background. Snoop Dogg, one of the most vocal and visible figures in hip-hop, suddenly went silent. No comments, no jokes, no reactions. In an industry where silence often speaks louder than words, people started to wonder why. For years, Snoop Dogg has been known as someone who never hides his opinions. Whether it was music, culture, politics, or industry drama, he always had something to say. His relaxed personality and honest tone made him feel untouchable. That is why his silence after the release of 50 Cent's documentary shocked so many people. Fans expected him to at least acknowledge what was happening, but days passed and there was nothing. No posts, no interviews, no reactions. That silence created more tension than any statement ever could. The truth behind that silence, according to people close to the industry, is much darker than fans realize. This story is not just about Diddy or one documentary. It reportedly involves a secret lawsuit that has been kept sealed, disturbing trafficking allegations tied to elite circles, and a warning from 50 Cent that reportedly caused serious fear among powerful figures. This was not internet gossip or conspiracy talk. This was real fear spreading behind closed doors. People were not scared of public opinion. They were scared of legal consequences and long-buried truths finally coming out. Everything changed on December 2, 2025. That was the day Netflix released the documentary titled Sean Combs: The Reckoning. From the moment it dropped, the internet exploded. Some praised it for being brave, while others called it dangerous. But one thing was clear: this documentary was different. It didn't feel like a typical Netflix release. It felt like evidence. It felt like a case file turned into a movie. And at the center of it all was 50 Cent, no longer just a rapper or businessman, but someone who had clearly spent years preparing for this moment. For a long time, people laughed at 50 Cent's comments online. He joked about having tapes. He hinted that he knew things others didn't. He posted sarcastic captions and memes that many thought were just clout moves. Even journalists dismissed him. They believed he was exaggerating or holding on to old grudges. But the documentary proved that 50 Cent was never joking. While others were distracted by fame and success, he was paying attention. He was listening. He was collecting stories, footage, and testimonies. He was building something quietly. One of the most disturbing parts of the documentary was the unseen footage recorded in New York City just days before Diddy's arrest in September 2024. These clips showed a side of Diddy that the public had never seen. Instead of confidence, there was anxiety. Instead of control, there was urgency. He appeared tense, distracted, and worried. According to the documentary, this footage was never meant to be released. It showed a man who clearly knew that something serious was coming. Someone who felt the pressure closing in but still tried to manage his image before it was too late. After the documentary aired, reports claimed that Diddy's legal team and inner circle went into complete panic. Emergency meetings were held. Lawyers were contacted non-stop. Public relations teams tried to limit the damage, but nothing worked. The footage spoke for itself. Public opinion shifted overnight. The industry reaction was even more intense. Artists began distancing themselves. Some deleted old photos. Others quietly canceled appearances. A strange silence started spreading across Hollywood, as if people were afraid that speaking too much might put them next in line. That silence became impossible to ignore when Snoop Dogg stopped talking completely. Fans noticed it almost immediately. Hip-hop blogs began questioning it. Comment sections filled with speculation. How could someone who always had something to say suddenly say nothing at all? According to industry insiders, this silence was not accidental. It was a decision made after serious conversations with lawyers and trusted advisors. Sometimes in the entertainment world, silence is not about guilt. It is about protection. The documentary strongly hinted at the existence of a sealed civil lawsuit that has not yet been made public. This lawsuit allegedly involves several high-profile figures connected to exclusive parties and private events that took place over many years. While the documentary avoided naming everyone directly, It suggested that subpoenas had already been issued quietly. The fear was not just about being accused, it was about being connected, being present, knowing too much, or staying silent when others were harmed. One of the darkest sections of the documentary focused on alleged trafficking activities, linked to powerful entertainment circles. The film was careful with its language, repeatedly using words like allegedly and according to sources. But the patterns it showed were deeply disturbing. Private jets, non-disclosure agreements, luxury locations, and young people whose voices were allegedly silenced with money and threats. Former insiders interviewed claimed that many people in the industry knew something was wrong, but chose not to speak because the power imbalance was too great. Several sources in the documentary claimed that warnings were given years ago. They said people were told that one day the truth would come out, and when it did, money and fame would not be enough to save anyone. According to those sources, 50 Cent was one of the few people who never forgot that warning. Instead of ignoring it, he prepared for it. He waited patiently until the moment was right. Shortly before the documentary was released, insiders claimed that 50 Cent privately warned several industry figures. These warnings were not public. There were no social media posts or interviews. These were quiet conversations. The message was simple and serious. When this documentary drops, stay quiet. Speaking at the wrong time could draw attention from investigators or connect someone to an ongoing legal case. According to sources, this warning played a major role in Snoop Dogg's decision to remain silent. Snoop Dogg's silence matters because of who he is. He is not just another rapper. He is a cultural icon, a symbol of West Coast hip-hop, a voice that has shaped generations. When someone like him suddenly disappears from the conversation, it sends a powerful signal. Industry experts often say that silence usually means legal advice, fear of association, or waiting for investigations to finish. In this case, it appears to be all three. Silence became a shield. For 50 Cent, this documentary was never about entertainment or revenge. It was about control and truth. It was about changing the balance of power in an industry that protected the wrong people for too long. By releasing this documentary, he forced conversations that people were afraid to have. He reminded everyone that no amount of fame makes someone untouchable forever. Today, Hollywood feels different. The fall of Diddy is only the beginning. Snoop Dogg's silence is not weakness. It is a warning. And 50 Cent remains several steps ahead, watching carefully. The real question is no longer who will speak next. The real question is who is hoping their past never becomes part of the story. According to the woman's lawsuit, what happened to her in 2013 changed her life forever and became a nightmare. She says she can never escape. She claims that in that year, she attended a Snoop Dogg concert in Anaheim, California, expecting nothing more than a night of music and fun. Like many fans, she says she was excited to be there and had no idea that the night would end in fear and trauma. After the concert ended, she alleges that she was approached and offered a ride home by Bishop Don Magic Juan, a well-known associate within the music industry. Trusting the situation and believing she would be safely taken home, she accepted the ride. She says she felt tired during the drive and eventually fell asleep in the car, thinking she was on her way back to her own home. However, when she woke up, she claims everything felt wrong. She says she was confused, scared, and disoriented because she was no longer at her house. Instead, she alleges that she had been taken to Bishop Don Magic Juan's home without her consent. According to her account, she did not agree to go there and had no control over what was happening. She claims that while she was in a vulnerable state, the bishop forced her to perform sexual acts against her will. She says she felt trapped, powerless, and terrified, unable to escape or ask for help. This, she alleges, was only the beginning of what she describes as a long and disturbing chain of abuse. The woman claims that the next day, instead of being helped or allowed to leave safely, she was again placed in a situation where power and influence were used against her. She alleges that Bishop Don Magic Juan told her they were going to a studio to see Snoop Dogg. According to her, he suggested that this meeting could change her life and hinted at a possible career opportunity. She claims he told her that maybe Snoop Dogg would make her a weather girl on his television show, presenting this as a chance for success and recognition. She says this promise gave her hope at a time when she felt broken and scared, and she believed that cooperating might be the only way forward. This part of her story, she believes, follows a familiar and disturbing pattern that has been seen in other high-profile cases. She alleges that powerful men in the entertainment industry use their influence, money, and fame to lure vulnerable people with false promises of careers, exposure, or success. In her view, this tactic is similar to what others have accused figures like Diddy of doing, using power as a weapon, creating situations where victims feel they have no choice but to comply. She claims that these promises are not real opportunities, but tools used to control and exploit. When they arrived at the studio, the woman says her physical and emotional condition worsened. She alleges that she felt sick, overwhelmed, and deeply anxious. She claims she asked to go to the bathroom because she needed to use the toilet and was not feeling well. According to her lawsuit, this moment, when she was alone and vulnerable, became another traumatic turning point. She alleges that while she was in the bathroom, Snoop Dogg walked in unexpectedly. She claims that he cornered her in the bathroom, leaving her no space to escape and no way to protect herself. The woman alleges that while she was sitting on the toilet, Snoop Dogg forced her to perform oral sex on him. She claims this act was completely against her will and that she did not consent in any way. She says she was scared for her life and believed that if she resisted, things could become even more dangerous for her. According to her, the power imbalance was overwhelming. She was alone, sick, and surrounded by people with influence while she felt invisible and disposable. She claims that fear took over and she felt she had no real choice in that moment. She further alleges that after he did what he wanted, Snoop Dogg simply left her there. She claims there was no concern for her well-being, no apology, and no acknowledgement of the harm she says was done to her. According to her account, she was left alone in the bathroom, emotionally shattered and physically shaken, trying to understand what had just happened. She says the promises of opportunity and success disappeared the moment she was no longer useful. Later on, the woman claims that she never received the job she had been told about. She did not become a weather girl and she was not given any career opportunity. According to her, this confirmed her belief that she had been used and then discarded, treated as an object rather than a human being. She alleges that the entire situation was never about helping her career, but about exploitation from the very beginning. In her lawsuit, the woman does not only accuse the individuals involved of sexual assault, she also brings forward much more serious legal claims. According to court documents, she alleges violations of the Trafficking Victims Protection Act. This is a critical part of the case because trafficking charges carry extremely severe consequences. Under the law, she claims that she was transported, manipulated, and coerced into sexual acts through deception, control, and abuse of power. The word trafficking is especially significant, she argues, because it changes how the case is viewed legally. Trafficking does not require chains or locked rooms. It can involve psychological pressure, false promises, and abuse of authority. The woman alleges that Snoop Dogg and his associate worked together in a coordinated way to move her from place to place and force her into sexual acts. According to her, this cooperation and planning is what makes the situation trafficking under the law, not just an isolated incident. She also points out that trafficking charges are the same type of charges that have kept other powerful figures like Diddy behind bars without bail. Under U.S. law, trafficking is one of the most serious crimes and can carry a life sentence if proven in court. This is why, according to her legal team, this case is not just about individual acts, but about a broader system of exploitation within the entertainment industry. The woman says she decided to file the lawsuit not for money or fame, but to finally tell her story and seek accountability. She claims she stayed silent for years out of fear, shame, and the belief that no one would believe her. She alleges that powerful people rely on that silence to protect themselves. By coming forward, she says she hopes to expose how influence and celebrity can be used to harm vulnerable individuals, and then erase them as if they never mattered. It is important to note that these claims are allegations made in a lawsuit, and have not been proven in a court of law. The accused individuals have the right to defend themselves, and the legal process will determine what is true. However, the woman's story highlights serious questions about power, consent, and exploitation in the music and entertainment industry. Her allegations serve as a reminder that fame and success should never place anyone above the law, and that every person, regardless of status, deserves safety, dignity, and justice. As the case began to move forward, the woman says she finally felt a small sense of relief. Not because the pain was gone, but because her story was no longer locked inside her. For years, she claims she carried the weight of what happened in silence, replaying the events in her mind and questioning herself. She says she blamed herself many times, wondering if she could have done something differently, if she should have said no louder, or if trusting anyone that night was her biggest mistake. Like many survivors, she says the shame did not belong to her, but it still lived inside her. She explains that trauma does not end when the abuse ends. According to her, it followed her into her daily life. She claims she struggled with anxiety, nightmares, and a constant sense of fear. Simple things like being alone in a room with powerful men or hearing certain songs could trigger memories she desperately tried to forget. She says her trust in people, especially those in positions of power, was completely shattered. The industry that once felt exciting now felt dangerous. When she finally decided to take legal action, she says it was one of the hardest decisions of her life. She knew that accusing famous and influential figures would bring public scrutiny, criticism, and disbelief. She claims she prepared herself for people to question her motives, her past, and her credibility. Still, she believed that staying silent